You're sitting in a coffee shop in Brooklyn, 3 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. The place is nearly empty. Just you, the owner behind the counter, and 2 men in the back booth. One of the men waves you over. You recognize him. Everybody in the neighborhood does. He's a soldier in the Colombo family, made man, connected. You walk to the booth. Your hands are sweating. Sit down, he says. Not asking. Telling. You sit. You know Sal's restaurant on Flatbush? The one that had the fire last month? You're not. Everyone knows. The place burned to the ground. Arson, people said, but nobody talks about it. The owner needs help rebuilding. You're gonna make sure the contractor uses our guy for the cement work. Understand? You understand. This is what you do now. You're an associate, the lowest rank in organized crime. You're not a made man. You didn't get a maid in a ceremony with blood and burning saints. You're not a member of the lot Cosa Nostra. But you work for them. You answer to them. And if they call, you come. An associate is anyone who does criminal work for a made member. That could be you, running a construction company that pays kickbacks to secure contracts, a dirty cop who passes information about investigations, a lawyer who defends mobsters and keeps their secrets, a drug dealer who kicks up a percentage to a soldier, a hijacker who steals trucks and fences the goods through family-connected warehouses. The term associate covers everyone from legitimate businessmen to violent criminals. The only thing you all have in common, you work with the mob, but you're not in the mob. And that distinction matters a lot. How you got here. Maybe you grew up in a neighborhood, Bensonhurst, Little Italy, the north end of Boston. You saw the wise guys your whole life. Nice cars, nice clothes, respect, money. Or maybe you own a bar, a restaurant, a construction company. And one day a made man walks in with a proposal. We can help each other out. You know what that means. It's not really a proposal. Or maybe you're criminal already. You hijack trucks, you run a bookmaking operation, you deal drugs, and you realize the guys with real power are organized. They have protection, they have connections, they have a system. You want in. So you start doing favors, small things at first. You lend your truck to move some merchandise. You don't ask what's in the boxes. You pass information about a competitor. You make a connection between a soldier and someone who needs something. You prove you can keep your mouth shut. You prove you can earn. You prove you can follow orders. Eventually, a made man starts using you regularly. Maybe a soldier. Maybe even a capo if you're useful enough. You're not getting made anytime soon, if ever. You might not even be Italian. Or maybe you are, but you got too much heat from the caps. Or maybe you're just not the type they trust enough to formally induct. But you're useful. And in the Mafia, useful is enough. Your daily reality. Taking orders. Here's what people don't understand about being an associate. You have no power. None. When a made man tells you to do something, you do it. You don't negotiate, you don't ask questions, you don't say no. It's Wednesday morning. You're at your legitimate business. Let's say you run a small trucking company. Your phone rings. I need you to pick something up in Jersey. Meet at the warehouse on 9th Street at 8 tonight. You have dinner plans with your wife, your daughter's birthday's tomorrow, and you promise to be home early. Doesn't matter. You go to Jersey. That's the reality. Your time isn't your own anymore. Your business isn't really yours. You're available whenever they need you. The soldier who calls you might be respectful, might even say please and thank you. But make no mistake, it's not a request. And if you say no, if you're busy, if you have something more important, they'll remember. And the next time they need to hurt someone, to send a message, to make an example, they might choose you. Because you're not protected. You're not a made man. You don't have the boss's blessing. You're expendable. The work, what they actually have you do. Your jobs vary depending on what you're good at. If you're a legitimate businessman, you might own a restaurant. They'll send customers to you, high rollers, who order expensive dinners and never pay. You eat the cost because saying no isn't an option. Or they'll have your back room for meetings, or they'll have you hire people. No questions asked about qualifications or background. Or you own a construction company. They'll steer contracts to you, city projects worth millions. But you're bidding what they tell you to bid. You're using their subcontractors. You're paying their prices for concrete and steel and labor, and at the end of every month, you're kicking up cash to your soldier. The profit margins are good, but 30% goes up the chain, and you never ever complain about that 30%. If you're a criminal, you might be a hijacker. You boost trucks from parking lots, warehouses, shipping docks, electronics, cigarettes, clothes, alcohol. You deliver the goods to a warehouse run by maid members. They fence it, you get paid per job, maybe a few thousand if it's a good score. They get the bulk of the profit. Or you're a bookmaker. You take bets on sports, horses, numbers. The maid men protect you. They make sure no one else operates in your territory. In return, you pay them a weekly tribute. If you have a bad week and bettors win big, they might spot you to cash to cover the bets, but that becomes a loan with interest, and you will pay it back. Or you deal drugs, maybe cocaine, maybe heroin, maybe prescription pills. The family might officially have a no drugs rule, but unofficially, as long as you're not a maid member, they'll look the other way. You just pay them a percentage, and if you get caught, you're on your own. They won't help with lawyers, they won't protect you, you take the fall alone. If you're violent, some associates muscle. You collect debts for loan sharks. You intimidate business owners who won't pay protection money. You beat people who disrespect maid members. You're not doing sanctioned hits, that's reserved for maid guys. But you might dispose of bodies, you might help with surveillance before murder, you might be the lookout during a score. The dirty work, the risky work, the work that gets you arrested, that's your job as an associate. The money, how much you actually make. Let's be clear, you're not getting rich. The maid members get rich. The soldiers, the capos, the boss, they're making hundreds of thousands, maybe millions at the top. You're making a living. Maybe a good living if you're hustling, but you're not buying mansions. Say you run an illegal bookmaking operation. You take in $50,000 in bets per week. After paying out winners, you clear $10,000 in profit. Sounds good, right? Except you're kicking up 30% to your soldier. That's $3,000 per week, $150,000 per year going up the chain. You keep $7,000 per week, $360,000 per year. Not bad, but that's gross. You have expenses, phones, runners who collect bets, payments to cops to ignore your operation, office space. And if you have a bad week where the bettors win big, you're covering those losses yourself or borrowing from the family at 20% interest per week. Realistically, you're netting maybe $200,000 per year. Good money, better than a straight job. But you're taking all the risk. You're the one getting arrested if cops raid your operation. You're the one getting indicted for illegal gambling. And the $3,000 per week you're paying up, that goes to your soldier, who combines it with cash from 5 other associates. He's making $15,000 per week just from his crew, $780,000 per year. Then he kicks up to his capo. The capo kicks up to the underboss. The underboss kicks up to the boss. By the time it reaches the top, the boss is making millions from guys like you. You're the base of the pyramid. You're generating the revenue. They had taken most of it. And if you complain, if you try to hold back money, if you think you deserve a bigger cut, they'll hurt you or kill you and take everything anyway. The risks, what can happen to you? As an associate, you face risks that maid members don't. You can be beaten without consequences. A maid member can't be killed without permission from the boss. That's a sacred rule. If a soldier wants to whack another soldier, he needs approval. Otherwise, it starts a war. But you You're not protected by that rule. You're sitting in a bar. It's crowded. You've had a few drinks. You're feeling good. A maid member you barely know walks in. You wave at him casually. He walks over, looks at you, says, "You don't wave at me like we're friends." Then he punches you in the face, right there in the bar, in front of everyone. You don't fight back. You can't. He's maid. You're not. You apologize. You buy him a drink. You show respect, because that's the hierarchy. You're at the bottom. You take the fall when things go wrong. The FBI raids an illegal gambling operation. They find betting slips, cash, phones with recorded bets, evidence everywhere. Who gets arrested? You, the associate, running the operation. The soldier who was taking his cut, he was never there. No paperwork ties him to the operation. He's insulated. You're facing 5 years in federal prison for illegal gambling and racketeering. If you cooperate, if you testify against the soldier, you might get a reduced sentence or witness protection, a new life somewhere else. But if you talk, you're dead. Either you get killed in prison before trial, or you get killed after you're released, or your family gets killed. So you take the fall. You plead guilty. You do your 5 years. And when you get out, the family might throw you a welcome home party. They might give you some cash to get back on your feet. They'll tell you that you did the right thing. But you'll notice the soldier who was taking money from your operation, he's moved on. He has new associates now. You've been replaced. You took the fall, you did the time, you kept your mouth shut, and your reward is nothing. You're back to zero. The dream, getting made. Most associates dream of one thing, getting made. Becoming a soldier, a made man, a friend of ours. Because once you're made, everything changes. You can't be killed without permission. You command respect. You have the boss's protection. Other families won't touch you without starting a war. But getting made requires several things. You must be of full Italian descent, both parents. If your father's Italian and your mother's Irish, you're out. If you're Sicilian on one side and anything else on the other, you're out. This rule eliminates most associates immediately. A lot of valuable criminals can't get made because of their bloodline. You must be sponsored by a made member, usually your soldier. He has to vouch for you, tell the boss you're worthy, explain why the family should make you. If your soldier doesn't like you, you're not getting made. If he thinks you're more valuable as an associate, someone he can exploit without protection, you're not getting made. You must prove yourself, usually by committing murder, or at least being present during one. The family needs to know you're capable of violence, that you won't hesitate when ordered to kill. Some associates go decades without getting made. They earn, they're loyal, they follow orders, but they never get the call. Because the family doesn't need more maid members. They need associates, people to do the work, people to take the risks, people to generate income that flows upward. Making you turns you from an exploitable asset into a protected member. Why would they do that if you're already producing?
The reality, you're stuck. Here's the truth about being an associate. You're in a trap. You can't go back to a legitimate life. You're making money, maybe not great money, but more than you'd make with a straight job. You've gotten used to the cash, the respect, even if it's tinged with fear, the feeling of being connected to something powerful. But you can't move up. Not really. Unless you're Italian, you'll never be made. And even if you are Italian, you might never get sponsored. You might work for the family your entire life and never get more than scraps. You can't leave. If you try to walk away, they'll assume you're cooperating with law enforcement. Why else would you leave? Nobody just quits the mob. Either you're in or you're talking. And if they think you're talking, you're dead. So you're stuck, taking orders, kicking up money, doing criminal work, hoping you don't get arrested, hoping you don't get killed, hoping that someday, maybe, you'll get made and have some protection. But probably you won't. You'll spend 20 years as an associate. You make decent money, you take all the risks, you go to prison a few times. You'll see other associates get killed for disrespecting made members, or stealing, or talking to the FBI. And you'll realize this isn't power. This isn't the life you imagined when you started. You're the bottom. You're the labor force. You're expendable. And that's what being an associate means. You're close enough to smell the money and the power, but you'll never actually have it. You're a friend of mine, not a friend of ours. And that difference defines your entire life.
The phone rings at 2 in the morning. You're asleep. Your wife stirs next to you. You reach for the phone, already knowing what this means. Nothing good happens when your capo calls at 2 a.m. Meet me at the club, 1 hour. That's all he says. No explanation, no details, just the order. You dress in the dark. Your wife pretends to be asleep. She knows better than to ask questions. 13 years of marriage and she's learned you don't talk about phone calls at 2 a.m. You drive to the social club in Bensonhurst. Your capo's car is already there. 2 other soldiers are waiting inside. Your capo looks at you. We got a problem. Somebody's been talking to the feds. We need to handle it tonight. You're not. You don't ask who. You don't ask why. You don't ask if they're sure. Those aren't your questions to ask. You're a soldier, a made man, a friend of ours. You took an oath. You swore to the Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours. You promised to obey orders without question, to protect the family above everything else, to never cooperate with law enforcement. And tonight, that oath means someone is going to die. This is your life now. Let me explain what being a soldier actually means. What being made actually means. You earned this. For years, maybe 10, maybe 15, you were an associate. You worked for a made man. You generated money. You proved yourself loyal. You showed you could keep your mouth shut. You committed crimes on orders. You took beatings when you deserved them, and sometimes when you didn't. You never complained to the police. You never cooperated with law enforcement. You kept omerta, the code of silence, even when it cost you. Eventually, your capo recommended you. He told the underboss you were ready. The underboss brought your name to the boss. The boss approved. And then came the ceremony. You were brought to a location. Maybe a basement, maybe an apartment, maybe the back room of a social club. Your capo was there, other made members were there. Sometimes the boss himself attended. They pricked your finger, drew blood, placed it on a card, usually a saint, sometimes the Virgin Mary, sometimes St. Francis. They lit the card on fire in your hands. You held it while it burned. And you recited the oath. The exact words varied by family, but the meaning was always the same. I swear to be faithful to the Cosa Nostra. If I betray the organization, may my soul burn in hell like this saint. Then you were told the rules, the commandments of the Cosa Nostra. Never cooperate with law enforcement, never disrespect another made member, never touch another made member's wife, never get involved with narcotics, though this rule was broken constantly and everyone knew it. Always obey your superiors. Always maintain omerta. After the ceremony, the other made members embraced you. You were a friend of ours now. When introducing you to other families, they'd use that phrase, not a friend of mine. That's for associates. You were one of them now. A made man. For the first time in your criminal career, you had protection. Real protection. Another family couldn't kill you without starting a war. Other soldiers had to show you respect. Associates had to answer to you. But with that protection came obligations. Heavy obligations. Obligations that wake you up at 2 in the morning with orders to kill someone. Your daily reality. Earning and obeying. Being a soldier means 2 things.
making money and following orders. Every week, you meet with your capo, sometimes at a social club, sometimes at a restaurant, sometimes walking on the street, less chance of being recorded. You bring him an envelope, cash, your weekly tribute.
Maybe you run a bookmaking operation. You take bets on sports, horses, numbers. After paying out winners and covering your expenses, you net $5,000 this week. You put $1,500 in the envelope for your capo. That's 30%, the standard rate. Your capo takes the envelope without counting it. He trusts you. If you ever short him, you'll face consequences. But for now, he trusts you. He might have information for you, a tip about an upcoming police raid, names of new associates who'll be working for you, changes in family structure. Someone got promoted, someone got whacked, someone's going to trial. Then he gives you your orders for the week. There's a guy on Arthur Avenue running numbers without permission. Go talk to him. Explain how things work. He either pays or he stops. That's your job. You're the family street-level enforcer and earner. You generate income through criminal activities. You pass a percentage up to your capo. He passes a percentage up to the underboss. The underboss passes a percentage up to the boss. You're the foundation of the pyramid. Without soldiers earning money, the whole structure collapses. But earning isn't enough. You also have to be available. Always. Your capo might call at any time, day or night, weekend or holiday. When he calls, you come. When he orders, you obey. Maybe it's a murder. Maybe it's a robbery. Maybe it's collecting a debt. Maybe it's just appearing somewhere to show the family's presence. You don't question, you don't refuse, you do what you're told. That's what being a soldier means. Your operations, how you actually make money. Most soldiers run their own criminal operations. You're expected to earn. Your capo judges you based on how much money you kick up to him. If you run a bookmaking operation, you take your legal bets, sports, horses, numbers. You have a network of runners who collect bets from customers. You have someone who handles the phones. You might have associates working under you, taking their own bets and kicking up to you. On a good week, you cleared $10,000 after paying winners. On a bad week, the bettors win big and you might lose money. When you lose, you might borrow from the family. They'll loan you the cash at 20% interest per week. You will pay it back with interest. You pay your capo 30% of your profits, $1,500 on a $5,000 week, $3,000 on a $10,000 week. Every single week, no exceptions. If you have a bad month and can't make the payment, your capo might give you some leeway. But that leeway isn't free. You owe him, and you'll pay in cash or in favors. If you're in loan sharking, you lend money at high interest rates, 50% for 6 weeks, 100% for 3 months, 200% for 6 months. Someone borrows $5,000, they pay you $7,500 back in 6 weeks. That's $2,500 profit. You keep $1,750, your capo gets $750. If the borrower doesn't pay, you collect. Maybe you threaten them. Maybe you beat them. Maybe you destroy their property. Maybe you take their business. This is how you earn respect. You don't let people disrespect the family by not paying debts. If you run hijacking operations, you steal trucks, electronics, cigarettes, alcohol, designer clothes, anything valuable that can be fenced quickly. You have associates who scout shipments. They tell you when valuable cargo is moving. You have a crew who executes the hijacking. You have connections to fences who buy the stolen goods. A good score might net $20,000. You split it with your crew. You keep $8,000. Your capo gets $2,400. You pay your crew the rest. If you're in garbage collection or construction, you might have a legitimate business, a carding company, a concrete supplier.
a union construction crew. Your business operates legally, mostly, but you're also involved in bid rigging, price fixing, territorial arrangements with other mob-controlled companies. You make legitimate money that you report on taxes, and you make illegal money from the cartel arrangements. Your capo gets his cut of both. If you deal narcotics, the family officially prohibits drug trafficking. It attracts too much law enforcement attention. The penalties are too severe. But unofficially, many soldiers deal drugs anyway. Cocaine, heroin, prescription pills. The profit margins are too good to resist. You just keep it quiet. You don't discuss it at family meetings. You don't tell other soldiers. You pay your capo his percentage, and everyone pretends not to know where that money comes from. If you get caught, you're on your own. The family won't help with lawyers. They won't protect you. You take the fall alone. That's the price of breaking the rules. The violence, what you're expected to do. Being a soldier means being willing to commit violence. That's not optional. Sometimes it's intimidation. You confront someone who owes money. You don't touch them. Just make it clear what happens if they don't pay. Your reputation does the work. They know what you're capable of. Sometimes it's assault. Someone disrespects a made member. Your capo orders you to teach him a lesson. You beat the guy, break his legs, send him to the hospital. Make sure he understands his mistake. Sometimes it's murder. Your capo calls, tells you to meet him. When you arrive, he says, "We got a problem that needs to be handled permanently." He doesn't always tell you why. Maybe the target is an informant. Maybe he stole from the family. Maybe he disrespected someone important. Maybe he's just become a liability. The reason doesn't matter. The order matters. You might be the shooter. You might be the driver. You might be the cleanup crew who disposes of the body. Sometimes it's planned meticulously. Surveillance, timing, escape routes, a clean, professional hit. Sometimes it's spontaneous. Someone insults your capo at a bar. Your capo looks at you, nods. You follow the guy outside and beat him to death in the parking lot. Sometimes you kill people you know. Associates who worked for you, friends from the neighborhood, even family members if they betray the organization. That's the hardest part. The oath you took supersedes everything. Family, friendship, personal loyalty. If your capo orders you to kill your cousin, you kill your cousin. Because refusing means you're the next target. The respect, what being made gets you. Despite the obligations and risks, being a soldier has real advantages. You can't be touched without permission. An associate can be beaten or killed by any made member for any reason, but you are protected. Another made member can't kill you without getting approval from the boss. This rule is sacred. Violating it starts wars between families. So even if someone hates you, even if you've wronged them, they can't just kill you. They have to go to proper channels. This protection is why everyone wants to get made. It's the difference between being expendable and being valuable. Associates answer to you. When you tell an associate to do something, they do it. No arguments, no negotiations. You are a made man. They're not. You can use them to run your operations, to collect debts, to handle risky jobs. If they refuse, you can beat them, you can take their businesses, you can make their lives miserable. They work for you. They kick money up to you. They answer to you. Other families respect you. When you're introduced to members of other families, they use the phrase, "a friend of ours." That signals you're made. You're one of them. You deserve respect. This opens doors. You can do business with other families. You can operate in their territories with permission. You can attend family functions.
You're part of the brotherhood. You can earn serious money. Some soldiers make $500,000 a year. Some make $1 million or more if their operations are particularly profitable. You're not rich like the boss or the underboss, but you're making more than most legitimate workers. You're living well. Nice house, nice cars. You can afford anything you want, as long as you're not flashy enough to attract IRS attention. The risks, what you're gambling with. Being a soldier also means living with constant risk. You're most likely to get arrested. Soldiers do the dirty work. You're on the streets, you're committing the crimes, you're the one law enforcement sees. When the FBI builds a RICO case, they usually start by arresting soldiers. You flip soldiers to testify against capos and bosses. If you get arrested, you have two choices. Take the fall and keep your oath, or cooperate and enter witness protection. Most soldiers take the fall. They do their time, they maintain omertà, because the alternative is death, either in prison before trial or after release. But some cooperate, and those who do often bring down entire families. You're vulnerable to internal politics. Sometimes made members get killed for political reasons. A capo wants to move up, so he eliminates rivals. A boss suspects disloyalty, even if it's unfounded, and orders a hit. You might follow every rule, earn plenty of money, stay loyal, and still get killed because someone above you is paranoid or ambitious. Your family suffers. Your wife knows something's wrong. She doesn't ask questions, but she's not stupid. Late night phone calls, unexplained absences, envelopes, the cash, she knows. Your kids might not understand now, but they will eventually, and they'll either join the life or resent you for it. Some soldiers' wives leave. Some stay out of fear. Some stay because they enjoy the money and status, but the marriage is always strained. You can never leave. The oath is for life. There's no retirement, no resignation. You're in until you die. If you try to walk away, the family assumes you're cooperating with law enforcement, and that means death. Some soldiers get put on the shelf, effectively retired due to age or health. They stop earning actively. They're no longer expected to commit crimes, but they're still soldiers, still bound by the oath, still available if the boss needs them. You live with constant paranoia. Is that guy at the bar a federal agent? Is your phone tapped? Did that associate flip and start wearing a wire? Is your capo planning to kill you for something you said? You can't trust anyone completely. Not your associates, not other soldiers, sometimes not even your capo. Because everyone's looking out for themselves. And if throwing you under the bus saves someone else, they'll do it. The ceremony that changed everything. You remember your ceremony. Every soldier does. It's the most important moment of your criminal career. The room was dark. 12 made members in a circle. Your capo brought you forward. They pricked your finger. You didn't flinch. They placed the burning saint card in your palm. You held it until it was ash. You recited the oath. Every word mattered. Every word bound you forever. When it was done, each made member embraced you. Now you're a friend of ours. We're brothers. We're family. This is for life. You felt pride, power, belonging. You'd finally earned the one thing every associate dreams about: protection, status, the right to call yourself a made man. That was years ago, maybe 10 years, maybe 20. And tonight, at 2 a.m, you're driving through a social club because your capo called, because someone needs to be killed, because that's what being a soldier means. You arrive at the club, your capo hands you a gun, tells you the target's location, gives you instructions. You nod, you take the gun, you leave.
This ain't the first time. It won't be the last. You stop counting murders after the 5th one. They blur together after a while. You're a soldier, a button man, a wise guy, a made man in the Cosa Nostra. You took an oath. You burned a saint. You swore to put the family above everything. And tonight, like every night when your capo calls, you're gonna honor that oath. Because that's what being made means. It's not just protection and respect and money. It's carrying a gun or two in the morning because someone up the chain decided someone else needs to die. That's your life now. That's what you signed up for when you took the oath. You're a soldier, and soldiers follow orders.
You're sitting at the back corner table. Same spot every Tuesday. The espresso's cold, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the line forming near the bar. One by one, your soldiers approach. Each one slides an envelope across the table without sitting down. You don't open them, you don't count, you just nod, and they disappear. This is your tribute collection. Every week, same routine. And you're the one they answer to now. You're a copper Reggie, a captain, and you command a crew of 20 made men in one of New York's 5 families. It took you 15 years to get here. 15 years of proving yourself as a soldier. 15 years of keeping your mouth shut when you got arrested. 15 years of making money and kicking it up to your old captain without asking questions. Then your captain got indicted. The boss called you in, told you that you were running the crew now. No ceremony, no celebration, just responsibility. You thought it would feel different. You thought there'd be more respect, more freedom, more money. You were right about the respect. You were wrong about everything else. Your territory. The boss gives you a specific piece of Brooklyn, 12 square blocks. Everything that happens there, every dollar that moves through those streets, you're responsible for it. 4 bookmaking operations, 3 loan sharking operations, total legitimate businesses paying protection, 1 union local you control through intimidation. Your job is simple: make money, lots of it. You oversee every criminal operation in your territory, manage the finances, and ensure profits flow up to the boss. The main duty is keeping the money coming in. The soldiers under you run the day-to-day operations. They collect from gamblers who owe, they shake down businesses, they move stolen goods, they handle whatever needs handling. But you're the one who decides what rackets to run and where to run them. Your territory might be defined geographically, or it might be defined by the rackets you operate. Either way, everything in your area belongs to you, until the boss decides it doesn't. The money. Every Monday morning, you count the envelopes. 20 soldiers, 20 separate operations. The bookmaking operation pulled in $12,000 this week. The loan sharking bought in $8,000. The protection rackets added another $6,000. $26,000 total. You keep your cut, then you pass the rest up. You give a percentage of your earnings and your underlings' earnings to the boss. He takes his share, the underboss takes his. The consigliere sometimes gets a piece. What's left is yours. Some weeks you're clearing $15,000. Other weeks it's $8,000. It depends on how much your soldiers earn and how much the boss demands. Your annual earnings likely exceed $500,000 in a good year. You drive a nice car, you wear expensive suits, you eat at the best restaurants, and nobody brings you a check. But you can't deposit that money in a bank. You can't buy a house in your name. You can't invest it legally. So you hide cash in your basement and your mother's apartment and a safe deposit box under a fake name. You're rich, but you live like you're being hunted. Because you are.
Your crew. 20 soldiers. That's your crew. Some of them are sharp, some of them are dangerous, some of them are loyal, and some of them want your job. Your role involves maintaining discipline within the crew and ensuring their loyalty to the higher ranks. One of your soldiers, Frankie, is making serious money with a gambling operation in Queens. He's pulling in more than you some weeks. The other soldiers respect him. The boss has noticed him. You know what that means. He's being watched. If he continues earning like this, the boss might promote him, might give him his own crew, might carve out a piece of your territory and hand it to him. So you have two choices. Keep Frankie happy and earning, or find a reason to have him killed before he becomes a threat. This is the job nobody tells you about. Managing ambition, controlling egos, making sure your soldiers respect you enough to obey you, but fear you enough not to challenge you. You must show yourself to be ruthless, resourceful, and a good leader, but must also be wary that those above you don't get worried by your ambition. One soldier under you got arrested last month. He's facing 15 years. If he cooperates, 30 of your crew's operations get exposed, including you. You visit his wife, you give her $5,000 cash. You tell her the family takes care of its own. You tell her that when he gets out, there's a place for him. What you don't tell her is that if he even thinks about talking to the FBI, you'll have him killed in prison before he finishes his first sentence. The meetings. Every Wednesday, you meet with the underboss. He passes down orders from the boss. You pass up the money you collected. The underboss tells you the boss wants more, always more. The family's legal expense is a mountain. 2 soldiers got arrested. The lawyers need paying. The boss wants each captain to kick up an extra $10,000 this month. You don't argue, you just nod. You report directly to the underboss, who gives you permission to perform criminal activities. Without that permission, nothing happens. If the boss wants someone killed, the order comes through the underboss to you. If the family decides to murder someone, the underboss normally asks a capo regime to carry out the order. You pick which soldier handles it. You give the order. You make sure it gets done cleanly. But you're also responsible if it goes wrong. If the hit gets botched, if the soldier gets caught, if the wrong person gets killed, that's on you. If a capo becomes powerful enough, he can sometimes wield more power than some of his superiors. You've seen it happen. Captains who earned so much money that they became untouchable. Captains who the boss relied on so heavily that they basically ran the family. But you've also seen what happens when a captain gets too powerful, when the boss starts worrying that you're building your own empire inside his empire. Those captains don't stay captains for long. The protection racket. You walk into a restaurant on your territory, the owner sees you and his face goes pale. He knows why you're here. You sit down, you order coffee. You don't touch it. Nice place you got here. Be a shame if something happened to it. Fires happen, vandalism happens. You need protection. He asks how much. You tell him $500 a week. He says he can't afford that. You tell him he can't afford not to pay it. The twist is that the Mafia members themselves are the criminals who threaten the business. You're not protecting him from anyone except yourself. He agrees. Every Friday, one of your soldiers stops by to pick up the envelope. If the restaurant owner is short one week, your soldier reminds him what happens to people who don't pay. This is the racket that's been running for decades. Protection racketeers control territories, as local businesses may collapse if forced to pay for protection from too many rackets. Your territory is yours. Nobody else can shake down these businesses. If another crew tries to move in, you go to war.
The gambling operation. Your biggest earner is the bookmaking operation. Illegal gambling has been a major revenue stream, along with extortion, loan sharking, protection rackets, and labor racketeering. 3 of your soldiers run wire rooms across Brooklyn. They take bets on football, basketball, horse racing, whatever people want to gamble on. The operation manages the day-to-day activities, settles bettors' disputes, authorizes and accounts for the debts and payouts, and lays off certain bets. On a good week, the operation clears $20,000. Most of that goes up the chain, but you keep enough to make it worthwhile. The problem is when someone loses big and can't pay. A gambler owes $18,000 to one of your bookies. He's 3 weeks late. He's avoiding phone calls. He's avoiding the social clubs. You send 2 soldiers to his apartment. They break his hand. They tell him he has 48 hours to come up with the money or they break something that won't heal. He shows up the next day with $9,000. Half. He promises the rest in 2 weeks. You have a choice. Accept a partial payment and give him time, or make an example of him to show the other gamblers what happens when you don't pay. You take the $9,000. You give him 1 more week. Not because you're merciful, but because a dead gambler can't pay the other $9,000 he owes. The loan sharking. One of your soldiers runs a loan sharking operation out of a storefront in Bensonhurst. He lends money to people who can't get loans from banks. Guys with bad credit, guys with gambling debts, guys who need cash fast and don't ask about interest rates. The interest is 3% per week. If someone borrows $10,000, they owe $300 every week just on interest. The principal never goes down unless they pay extra. If someone's slow to pay back what they owe, your soldier threatens them with explicit threats of physical violence. Most people pay. Some people can't. Those people get hurt. You're sitting in the back office when your soldier brings in a guy who's 6 weeks behind. He owes $4,000 now, with interest. He's crying, he's begging, he's saying his wife doesn't know, his kids don't know. Please, just give him more time. Your soldier looks at you. You nod. They take the guy into the back room. You hear the sounds. You don't need to see it. When they bring him out, he's bleeding and he can barely walk. But he understands now. He'll find the money. This is the business. You're not a banker. You're not a social worker. You're a criminal. And the only thing that keeps this operation running is fear. The labor racket. In labor racketeering, it's usually a capo who controls the infiltration of union locals. You control a union local representing construction workers in Brooklyn. The union president is on your payroll. Every hiring decision goes through him. Every contract negotiation includes a kickback to you. A construction company wants to build a new apartment complex in your territory. They need union labor. They come to you. You tell them it'll cost an extra $200,000 in cash off the books. Half now, half when the project's done. They agree. They don't have a choice. If they refuse, the union goes on strike. The project gets delayed. They lose millions. This racket is perfect because it's almost legal. You're just a union representative helping negotiate contracts. Nobody can prove the cash payments. Nobody can prove the threats. The money flows in, the construction continues, everyone gets paid.
The hit. The underboss calls you in. He tells you there's a problem. One of the soldiers in another crew has been skimming money. The boss wants him gone. This is your job. If the family decides to murder someone, the underboss normally asks a copper regime to carry out the order. You pick 2 of your best soldiers, you tell them the target, you tell them to make it clean. No witnesses, no mistakes. They follow the target for a week, they learn his routine, they figure out when he's alone. On a Tuesday night, they wait outside a social club in Bay Ridge. The target comes out at 11. He's walking to his car. Nobody's around. 2 shots, he's down. Your soldiers are gone in 30 seconds. The next morning, you read about it in the newspaper. The police have no suspects. The family has no comment. You never mention it again. Neither do your soldiers. The target's name is never spoken. This is the reality of being a captain. You can be called on to carry out a hit which cannot be trusted to anybody lower in the hierarchy. You order murders, you organize them, you make sure they happen quietly and efficiently.
And if one of your soldiers screws it up, if he leaves evidence or gets seen or kills the wrong person, you're the one who answers for it. The fear. You're making more money than you ever thought possible. You command respect from 20 made men and 100 associates. You walk into rooms and people move out of your way. But you can't sleep through the night anymore. Every phone call could be the FBI. Every car following you could be surveillance. Every meeting could be your last. The boss doesn't trust anyone. The underboss is always watching. Your soldiers are ambitious. The other captains want your territory. And then there's the law. The FBI has been watching your crew for 2 years. You don't know how you know, but you know. They got surveillance photos. They probably got wiretaps. They're building a case. As a capo, you're now a target from law enforcement, rival families, and even your own crew. You're a bigger fish, which means your name is on more wiretaps, your face is on more bulletin boards, and your enemies want what you have. One of your soldiers might be cooperating. You don't know which one, but statistically, someone always flips. Someone always takes a deal. Someone always wears a wire. You watch what you say, you never use names, you speak in code, you change locations constantly. But you know it's only a matter of time. The pressure from above. The boss calls a meeting. All the captains are there. He's angry. The family's income is down. The legal bills are piling up. 3 soldiers got arrested last month. The boss needs more money from everyone. He looks at each captain. He says he wants 20% more from every crew starting immediately. You can't argue. You can't negotiate. You just nod and accept it. You must follow the limitations and guidelines created by the boss, as well as pay him his cut at the profits. So, you go back to your crew. You call your soldiers they need to earn more. You tell them to expand operations. You tell them to take more risks. Some of them push back. They say it's too hot right now. They say the FBI is watching. They say 20% more is impossible. You tell them to figure it out. Because if the boss doesn't get his money, it's your head on the line, not theirs. The boss give it, and the boss take it away. You're only a captain as long as he allows it. The boss can promote or demote family members at will. One captain got demoted last year. He wasn't earning enough. The boss gave his territory to someone else and bumped him back down to soldier. That captain disappeared 6 months later. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody asks.
The trap. You're lying in bed at 3 in the morning. You can't sleep. Your wife is next to you, but you haven't really talked to her in months. She knows what you do, but she doesn't know the details. She doesn't want to know. Your daughter is 16. She thinks you work in construction. She thinks you're a businessman. She doesn't know that half the fathers at her school pay tribute to you. You're making $500,000 a year, but you can't tell her. You can't explain where the money comes from. You can't be honest about anything. You think about your father. He was a soldier. He died in prison. You swore you'd be different. You'd be smarter. You'd be more careful. But here you are, a captain in a crime family. One bad decision away from life in prison. One rat away from a murder charge. One moment of bad luck away from getting killed by your own people. You have to watch what you say, where you go, and who you trust. You've got more freedom, sure. You run your rackets how you see fit, but you're also responsible for your guys. If one of your soldiers mouths off, skips tribute, or gets arrested and flips, that blood might be on you. This is the position you fought 15 years to reach. This is what you thought you wanted. And now that you're here, you realize the truth. Capos are nominated by the underboss, but typically chosen by the boss himself. You serve at his pleasure. You exist because he allows it. You're not free. You're more trapped than you've ever been. But you can't leave. You can't quit. You can't retire. This is a life sentence that doesn't require a conviction. You made your choice a long time ago, and now you live with it. Every day, every sleepless night, every time you look over your shoulder. You're a capo regime, a captain, a made man with 20 soldiers under your command, and you'd give anything to be nobody again.
You're sitting in a restaurant in Little Italy. The owner knows you. Everyone knows you, but nobody bothers you. The boss is at the head of the table. His underboss sits to his right. You sit to his left. 3 men walk in. They're from another family. They need to talk. The boss nods. They approach the table. They don't look at the boss first. They look at you because you're the consigliere, the advisor, the counselor, the voice of reason in a world built on violence. You don't have a crew. You don't collect money from the street. You don't pull triggers. But when the boss needs to make a decision that could save or destroy the family, he doesn't ask his underboss. He asks you. This is what it means to be a consigliere. Not the glamorous position, not the heir to the throne, not the muscle. Something more dangerous, something more valuable. You're the one person in the family who can tell the boss he's wrong. And you're the one person who better be right when you do. The position. You didn't get here by accident. The consigliere isn't a position you campaign for. It's not something you earn through violence or intimidation. You don't become consigliere by being the toughest guy in the room or bringing in the most money. You get there through trust. Complete, absolute trust. The boss has known you for decades. Maybe you grew up together. Maybe you served time together.
The position. You didn't get here by accident. The consigliere isn't a position you campaign for. It's not something you earn through violence or intimidation. You don't become consigliere by being the toughest guy in the room or bringing in the most money. You get there through trust. Complete, absolute trust. The boss has known you for decades. Maybe you grew up together. Maybe you served time together. Maybe he saved his life once, or he saved yours. The origin doesn't matter. What matters is that when he looks at you, he sees someone with no hidden agenda. Because he is what makes the consigliere different from everyone else in the family. You're not supposed to want his job. The underboss wants to be boss someday. Everyone knows it. That's how succession works. When the boss dies or goes to prison, the underboss steps up. It's expected. It's the natural order. But you're supposed to be content being the advisor, the person behind the throne, not on it. If the boss even suspects you want his position, you're done. You'll never become consigliere. You might not even stay in the family. This is why consiglieres tend to be older. Not always, but usually. Men in their 50s or 60s who've seen enough, earned enough, survived enough. Men who aren't hungry anymore. Men who understand that power isn't always about giving orders. Sometimes power is about being the person who shapes the orders before they're given. Your official role is simple. Advisor to the boss. When he needs to make a decision, you provide counsel. When there's a dispute within the family, you mediate. When there's a meeting with another family, you represent his interests. But the real role is more complex. You're his auxiliary brain, the person who thinks through the angles he might miss, the person who asks the questions nobody else dares to ask, the person who challenges his plans until they're foolproof. Because you're one of the few people in the family who can say no to the boss. Not just can, sometimes must.
The daily reality. Your day doesn't start with collections or shakedowns or territorial disputes. It starts with phone calls. The boss calls you early
there's a problem. One of the capos wants to open a new gambling operation in a neighborhood that technically belongs to another family. Not a big operation, small, but it's in disputed territory. Do we let him? This seems like a simple question, but nothing's is simple. You ask questions. How much money are we talking about? Who's the capo? Is he reliable? How good is his relationship with the other families? What's his crew like? Any hotheads who might cause problems? The boss gives you details. You think it through. Then you tell him. Bad idea. Here's why. The other family's boss is old school, territorial. He'll see this as disrespect, even if we claim we didn't know it was disputed territory. We don't need that heat right now. We've got that federal investigation, watching our construction operations. Starting a beef when another family brings more attention. Tell the capo to find another location. If he complains, explain it's temporary. Once the Fed heat dies down, we revisit it. The boss thinks about it, nods, agrees. You just prevented a war, maybe, or at least delayed it. That's the job, preventing problems before they start. Later that morning, you're having coffee at a social club. Two soldiers from different crews are arguing. It's about money. One claims the other owes him from a card game. The other claims the game was rigged. Their capos don't want to get involved. They're friends. They don't want this dispute to damage their relationship. So it comes to you. You listen to both sides. You ask questions. You figure out what actually happened. The game wasn't rigged, but the guy who lost was drunk. The other guy kept serving him drinks, kept encouraging him to bet more. Technically not cheating, but not exactly honorable either. You make a ruling. The debt is cut in half. The guy who won takes 50% and shuts up about it. The guy who lost pays 50% and learns not to gamble drunk. Neither is happy, but both accept it because you're the consigliere. When you make a ruling, it's final. This is the second part of your role, mediator. You settle disputes that could otherwise tear the family apart. In the afternoon, you have lunch with a judge. Not a mob judge, not someone on the payroll, just someone you know. You've known him for 20 years. His father and your father were friends. You don't talk about anything illegal. You just talk about the neighborhood, about politics, about his kids, about the weather. But later, when someone in the family gets arrested and that judge happens to be assigned to the case, maybe he remembers that lunch. Maybe he's a little more inclined to see reasonable bail. Maybe he's a little more willing to listen to emotion to suppress evidence. You never ask him directly. You never have to. This is the third part of your role, connections. You're the liaison between the family and the legitimate world. Judges, politicians, business owners, union leaders, people who can help the family without getting their hands dirty. You maintain these relationships. You keep them warm. You never burn them by asking for too much. By evening, you're back at the restaurant. The boss wants to talk about something bigger. He's thinking about getting into a new business. A friend of his has a connection in Miami. They can move product. Good money. Very good money. But it's drugs.
The family has a rule. No drugs. It's been the rule for 20 years. The boss's father made that rule. Drugs bring too much attention, too much federal heat, too many long sentences. But this opportunity is very profitable. And other families are doing it. Are we leaving money on the table? The boss wants your opinion. This is the moment that defines your role. This is when being consigliere becomes dangerous. Because you know what he wants to hear. You know he's already half convinced. You know he's probably already made up his mind and he's just looking for you to confirm it. But you're not there to tell him what he wants to hear. You're there to tell him the truth, the responsibility. You take a breath, you organize your thoughts, then you tell the boss exactly what you think. Bad idea. Very bad idea. He tenses. You see it in his shoulders, but you keep going. The rule against drugs isn't just about morality. It's about survival. Drug cases bring federal attention, long sentences, informants. The feds use drug charges to flip people. And once people start flipping, the whole family comes down. Look at what happened to the Bonanno family. Look at the Lucchese family. Drugs brought them down. And there's another problem. Once you say yes to drugs, you can't control it. Your capos are one end, their soldiers are one end. Pretty soon, you've got guys at the bottom dealing heroin out of their cars, getting arrested, and when they're looking at 20 years, they'll start talking. You can't keep it contained. You can't keep it quiet. The short-term money isn't worth the long-term risk. The boss listens. His face is hard to read. You've known him long enough to recognize the signs. He's angry, not at you, at the situation, because he knows you're right. He says he needs to think about it. You nod. You said your piece. 2 days later, he tells his friend in Miami the family isn't interested. You just saved the family from a federal investigation that would have destroyed it. But nobody will ever know. Nobody will ever thank you. That's not how this works. This is the burden of being consigliere. You prevent disasters that never happen. You stop wars before they start. You keep the family from making mistakes that would end them. And you get no credit. Because if you're doing your job right, nothing goes wrong. But there's another side to this responsibility, one that keeps you up at night. You know everything. The boss tells you things he doesn't tell anyone else. Not his underboss, not his capos, sometimes not even his family. You know who's earning and who's stealing. You know which capos are reliable and which are liabilities. You know which politicians are bought. You know which cops are dirty. You know where the money's hidden. You know who's ordered which hits. If you ever flipped, if you ever cooperated with the feds, you could destroy the entire family with a single conversation. The boss knows this. Everyone knows this. But you're the consigliere. You don't flip. It's not in your nature. It's not who you are. If it was, you never would have been chosen. Still, the knowledge weighs on you because you understand what it means. If the family ever thinks you might talk, you're dead. No trial, no questions, no chance to explain. Just dead. Your loyalty can never be questioned. Your discretion can never waver. One mistake, one careless word in the wrong place, one hint that maybe you're not as solid as everyone thought. That's all it takes.
The power without violence. You don't carry a gun. You haven't pulled a trigger in 20 years, maybe longer. You're not a soldier. You're not a killer. When the family needs violence, they don't call you. But you wield power that soldiers can only dream about. You're sitting in the social club, a capo walks in. Big guy, tough, runs a crew of 20 soldiers, controls all the gambling in 3 neighborhoods, makes millions. He's angry. He wants to talk to the boss. There's a problem with another crew, a territorial dispute. He wants permission to handle it, but the boss isn't here, so he talks to you. You listen. You ask questions. You get the full story. Then you tell him no. He's not happy. He starts to argue. You let him. You let him say his piece. Then you explain why it's not happening. The dispute isn't what he thinks it is. The other crew isn't trying to disrespect him. There's been a misunderstanding. You'll mediate. You'll sit down with both sides. You'll fix it without violence. He doesn't like it, but he accepts it because you're the consigliere. When you say no, it means the boss is saying no. This is your power. You speak with the boss's voice. When you give an order, it carries his authority. But you have to be careful. You can't abuse this. If the boss finds out you're making decisions in his name that he wouldn't agree with, your time as consigliere is over. The trust only works if you're actually representing his interests, if you're thinking the way he would think, if you're making the choices he would make. You're not replacing his judgment, you're extending it. Later that week, there's a meeting. 5 families, the commission. All the bosses are there with their consiglieres and underbosses. Your boss is one of them. The meeting is about territory. One family wants to expand into another family's neighborhood. The family being encroached on says no. There's tension. This could turn into a war. The bosses argue, they posture, they make threats, voices rise. Then your boss looks at you. He wants you to read. You've been watching. You've been listening. Not the what's being said, the what's not being said. You lean close. You tell them quietly. They don't want war, neither side. They're just establishing positions for negotiation. Let them talk themselves out. Then propose a compromise. He nods. He waits. The arguing continues. Then, when there's a pause, he speaks. He proposes a middle ground. The expanding family can move into the disputed neighborhood, but they pay a percentage to the other family, 20% of all earnings from that territory. Both sides consider it. It's not what either wanted, but it's better than war. They agree. After the meeting, the other bosses nod to your boss. They respect him for finding a solution. But some of them nod to you too, because they know. They understand the game. They recognize that you were the one who read the room. You were the one who saw the path forward. This is the quiet power of the consigliere. You're not the boss, but the bosses respect you because they know that without good counsel, a boss doesn't last. The isolation. You're at a wedding, family wedding, your family, not the crime family. Your nephew is getting married. You're sitting at a table with cousins you haven't seen in years. They're normal people, legitimate jobs. They know what you do. Everyone in the neighborhood knows. But they don't talk about it. They're talking about their jobs, office politics. Someone got promoted. Someone got passed over. Someone's boss is unbearable. You listen, you nod, you smile at the right moments. But you can't relate. Not really. Because your job isn't like their jobs. Your problems aren't like their problems. They complain about their boss being unreasonable. You can't tell them that if you're wrong when advising your boss, people die. They talk about office politics. You can't tell them about mediating between 2 crews that both want to kill each other.
They worry about getting fired. You worry about getting murdered. The gap between your life and theirs is too wide. You can't bridge it. You don't even try. You're polite, you're friendly, but you're alone in that crowd. This is one of the hidden costs of being consigliere, the isolation. You can't have normal friendships. You can't have normal conversations. Everything you know is secret. Everything you do is protected. Your real friends are in the life. Other made guys, other consiglieres, people who understand the rules. People who live by the same code. But even with them, you're careful because you know things they don't know. You're privy to decisions they're not part of. You can't share everything, even with friends. Your wife knows not to ask questions. Your kids know not to talk about dad's work. Your family has learned to live around the silence. It's lonely at the top. And being consigliere is as close to the top as you can get without being the boss. The trap. You're getting older, 62 now. You've been consigliere for 12 years. Before that, you were a trusted associate for 20 years. You've given your entire adult life to the family. The boss is getting older too, 70 now. He's slowing down. His health isn't great. Everyone can see it. The underboss is positioning himself, making alliances, talking to the capos, building support. When the boss dies or retires, the underboss wants to make sure the transition is smooth. that he takes over without opposition. This is natural. This is expected. But he comes to you with a question. When he becomes boss, will you stay on as consigliere? It's a fair question. Many bosses bring in their own consigliere, someone they trust, someone they have history with. You tell him, yes, you'll stay, if he wants you. He says he does. You have institutional knowledge. You have relationships with the other families. You know where all the bodies are buried, literally. You're valuable. He'd be a fool not to keep you. But here's the trap. Here's what nobody tells you about being consigliere. You're only as valuable as the boss who trusts you. When that boss is gone, everything changes. The new boss says he trusts you. Maybe he does, but it's not the same. You don't have 40 years of history with him. You don't know all his secrets. He doesn't know all of yours. And there's something else, something uncomfortable. You know, he's not as smart as the old boss, not as careful, not as strategic. He's more aggressive, more impulsive. The old boss listened to your counsel. This new boss listens, but you could tell he's just waiting for you to finish so he could do what he was going to do anyway. This is dangerous for you, for the family. But what can you do? You can't refuse to work with him. You can't quit. You don't just quit the Mafia. You stay. You give your counsel. You hope he listens. And you start to understand something that terrifies you. You spent 12 years preventing disasters. You stopped wars. You've avoided federal investigations. You've kept the family together and prosperous. But now with this new boss, all that work might unravel. He's making the kinds of mistakes you spent years helping the old boss avoid. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're the consigliere. You advise. You don't command. If the boss doesn't listen, you can't force him. You can only watch as the family you've protected for decades starts to crack.
The reality. 6 months later, the family's indicted. All of them. Boss, underboss, capos, soldiers, you too. The new boss made exactly the mistake you warned him he shouldn't. He got into drugs. Started small, said he could control it. Didn't listen when you said it was impossible to contain. Now the feds have wiretaps. They have informants. They have evidence. Years of evidence. They've been watching for 18 months. Everyone's getting arrested. RICO charges, racketeering, conspiracy, drug trafficking, money laundering, murder. You're looking at life in prison. You're 63 years old. Life means you die in a cell. The prosecutor offers you a deal. Cooperate. Tell us everything. We'll give you witness protection. New name, new life. You'll do a few years and walk. This is the moment every made guy knows is coming. The moment where you choose. Some guys flip. They take the deal. They tell everything. They destroy the family to save themselves. Some guys don't. They go to trial. They get convicted. They die in prison. You think about your wife, your kids, your grandkids. You think about never seeing them again except through glass in a prison visiting room. You think about the boss, the new boss, who didn't listen, who destroyed everything because he thought he knew better. You think about the old boss, the one you would have followed into hell, the one who's already dead. You think about 40 years of your life, everything you built, everything you protected, all of it for this moment, this choice. And you realize something. This was always how it was going to end. Not in glory, not in respect, not in a quiet retirement. In handcuffs, in a courtroom, with a prosecutor offering you a choice between dying in prison and betraying everyone you ever knew. You're the consigliere. You're supposed to be the wise one, the one who sees the angles, the one who prevents disasters. But you couldn't prevent this one. You tell your lawyer you're not cooperating. You're going to trial.
You're gonna fight the charges. And if you lose, you'll do your time. Because that's what a consigliere does. That's what you've always done. You give counsel, you stay loyal, and you live with the consequences. Even when those consequences mean dying in a federal prison.
You're sitting across from the boss. His office, just the two of yous. He's talking, but you're not really listening. You're watching his hands, the way he gestures, the way he moves. You're looking for the sign, because you know what's coming. You've known for 3 weeks now. He finishes talking, he looks at you, he says the words you've been waiting to hear. You're my underboss now. You nod, you thank him, you shake his hand. And just like that, everything changes. You're second in command to one of New York's 5 families. You answer only to the boss. Every captain, every soldier, every associate in the organization reports to you now. This is what you've worked toward for 20 years. This is the power you craved. But standing here, looking at the boss, you realize something he'll never say out loud. You're not his partner. You're his insurance policy. What the position really means. You're second in command to the boss, and you're in charge of all capos and soldiers. The underboss traditionally runs day-to-day affairs at a family. On paper, it sounds simple. The boss makes the big decisions, you make sure those decisions get carried out. But nothing in this life is simple. The boss appointed you to this position, not because you're the most qualified, not because you earned it through merit, because you're someone he can control, someone who has too much to lose to betray him. An underboss likely has incriminating information about the boss, and so bosses often appoint people close to them to the underboss position for protection. You know where the bodies are buried, literally. You know which politicians he's paying off, you know which murders he ordered, you know everything, which means he needs you close and he needs you loyal. The underboss is sometimes a family member, such as a son, who will take over the family if the boss is sick, killed, or imprisoned. You're not his son, but you're close enough. You've been with him for 15 years. You've proven yourself over and over. You've kept your mouth shut, you've made him money, you've handled problems without creating new ones. And now he's given you this position, second in command, the man who runs everything when he's not around. But here's what nobody tells you about being an underboss. The power of an underboss greatly varies. Some are marginal figures, while others are the most powerful individuals in the family. Which one are you? That depends entirely on the boss.
Your real responsibilities. Every morning starts the same way. You meet with the captains, 5 of them. Each one runs a crew of 20 soldiers. They report to you. You are responsible for ensuring profits from criminal enterprises flow up to the boss, and generally oversee the selection of capo regimes and soldiers to carry out murders, kidnappings, and other operations. One captain tells you his crew pulled in 40,000 this week. Good. Another says 35,000. Also good. The third says 22,000. Not good enough, but acceptable. The fourth captain says 18,000. You make a note. That's the 3rd week in a row he's been low. The 5th captain doesn't show up. That's a problem. You call him. No answer. You send someone to his house. He's not there. You check his social club. Not there either. Now you have a decision to make. Is he dead? Is he hiding? Is he cooperating with the FBI? In most families, the underboss arbitrates many disputes. Depending on the seriousness of the problem, he might consult with the boss. This is serious enough. You go to the boss. You tell him the situation. He tells you to find the captain. Alive if possible. Dead if necessary. But find him. You spend the next 3 days tracking him down. Turns out he's in Atlantic City. Gambling. He lost $60,000 of the family's money and was too scared to come back. You bring him back, you sit him down,
You explain that running away makes things worse. You take the $60,000 out of his future earnings. You tell him if it happens again, there won't be a third conversation. Some conflicts are immediately referred up to the boss. In those cases, the underboss usually sits in and offers his opinion. In either event, the ultimate authority rests with the boss. This is your job: managing the captains, settling disputes, making sure money flows up to the boss, making sure everyone stays in line. But you're also responsible for the violence. If the family decides to murder someone, the underboss normally asks a capo regime to carry out the order. When the boss wants someone killed, he doesn't give the order directly. He tells you. You pick which captain handles it. You make sure it gets done right. Last month, the boss wanted a soldier from another family killed. The soldier had them talking to the FBI. Not cooperating yet, but talking. That was enough. You called in your best captain. You gave him the name. You told him to make it clean. No witnesses, no mistakes. 3 days later, the soldier was found in a car trunk in Queens. 2 bullets in the head. Clean. The boss was satisfied. You did your job. But you're the one who gave the order. You're the one whose voice is on tape if anyone was listening. You're the one the FBI will come after when they build their case. The boss stays insulated. You stay exposed. The money. An underboss receives monetary compensation in various ways. For example, he may be a partner in several rackets and thus get a cut. In addition, several capos may pass their envelopes through the underboss, who takes a percentage and passes the remainder to the boss. Every week, the captains bring their envelopes to you. You don't open them in front of them. You wait until they leave. Then you count. $180,000 this week from 5 captains, from bookmaking, loan sharking, protection rackets, labor unions, and legitimate businesses that aren't so legitimate. You take your cut, 20%. That's $36,000. You put it in a duffel bag in your office safe. The rest, $144,000, goes to the boss. You deliver it personally. Same time, same place. He counts it in front of you. He doesn't trust you, but he doesn't distrust you either. He just wants you to know he's watching. Some weeks you make $40,000. Some weeks you make $60,000. It depends on how much the captains earn and how much the boss demands. However he makes his illegal earnings, it is a significant enough amount to make his position one of envy, especially when prestige and the possibility of additional advancement are weighed. You're pulling in over $2 million a year. You own 3 houses, none of them in your name. You drive a different car every week. You have cash hidden in 6 different locations. You're wealthy. On paper, you shouldn't want anything else. But you do. You want what the boss has. You want to be the one making the decisions instead of following them. You want to be the one who takes the biggest cut instead of passing it up. This sometimes chafes the ego of an ambitious underboss and can lead to problems. You push the thought away, but it keeps coming back.
When the boss goes away. The call comes at 6 in the morning. The FBI arrested the boss 3 hours ago. Racketeering, murder, extortion, 37 counts. His lawyer says he's not making bail. He's gonna be in federal custody until trial. That could be 2 years, maybe more. The consigliere calls you. He says the family needs leadership. He says the boss wants you to step up. If a boss is incarcerated, the underboss may become acting boss. As bosses often serve large periods of time in prison, an acting boss will often become the crime family's effective boss. You're the acting boss now. Everything runs through you. All decisions, all money, all violence. The captains meet with you the next day. They want to know what happens now. You tell them everything continues as normal. Same operations, same territories, same rules.
but it's not the same, and everyone knows it. Even with the boss free, sometimes the underboss will gain enough power to become the effective head of the organization, and the boss will become a figurehead. Over the next 6 months, you'll make decisions the boss would have made. You approve new rackets, you settle disputes between captains, you authorize 3 murders. The family is running smoothly, maybe better than before. You're more accessible than the boss was, you listen to the captains, you make decisions quickly. You start to think, maybe you should be the boss permanently. Then you get a message from the boss, through his lawyer. He wants to see you at the Federal Detention Center. You visit him. He's in an orange jumpsuit. He looks older, tired. He tells you you're doing a good job. He tells you to keep doing what you're doing. He tells you the family's in good hands. Then he leans in. He says, just remember, I'm still the boss. I'm still making the decisions. You're just holding the seat until I get back. You nod. You understand. You're not the boss. You're the temporary boss. And the moment he gets out, you go back to being second in command. If he ever decides you got too comfortable in his chair, you might not even be that. The danger from above. In some crime families, the appointment is for life. If a new boss takes over a family with an existing underboss, that boss may marginalize or even murder the underboss appointed by his predecessor. You think about this constantly now. What happens if the boss dies in prison? What happens if he gets convicted and serves 20 years? What happens if he gets killed? The consigliere says you'd become the boss. The captains would vote, you'd win. You're the logical choice. But you know how this really works. Logic doesn't matter, loyalty doesn't matter, only power matters. One of the captains has been making more money than everyone else. He's ambitious, he's connected, he has relationships with captains and other families. If the boss dies, that captain might make a move. He might try to take over. And if he has enough support, he'll succeed, which means you'd be dead. You can't kill him preemptively. The boss is still alive. He appointed you. If you kill a captain without the boss's approval, you're starting a war. So you watch, you wait, you prepare. One of your soldiers is close to that captain's crew. You tell him to report back anything suspicious, any meetings, any unusual behavior, any sign that the captain has planted something. You can't trust anyone completely, but you need information, so you take the risk. This is the reality of being underboss. You're powerful enough to be a target, not powerful enough to be untouchable.
The pressure from below. One of your captains asks to meet with you privately. Not at the social club, not at the office, somewhere quiet. You meet him at a restaurant in Brooklyn. Back corner table, no one around. He tells you he's been thinking. He says the boss has been in prison for 18 months now. He says the family needs permanent leadership. He says you should be the boss. You ask what he means. He says the family would be better off if the boss stayed in prison. He says arrangements could be made. A guard could be paid. An inmate could be hired. The boss could have an accident. You look at him. You don't say anything for a long time. Then you tell him if he ever suggests something like that again, you'll have him killed. You tell him the boss is the boss until he decides he's not. You tell him to never forget that. He apologizes. He says he was just thinking out loud. He leaves. You sit there for another hour, thinking. He wasn't testing you. He was recruiting you. He wants you to kill a boss. He wants you to take over. And he probably already talked to other captains about it, which means you have a problem. If you tell a boss, he might think you're involved. If you don't tell a boss and he finds out later, he'll think you were involved. You decide to tell him. Better to be honest than caught lying. You visit the boss in prison. You tell him what happened. You tell him exactly what the captain said. The boss listens. He doesn't react. He just nods. 2 weeks later, that captain disappears. His body is found in a construction site in New Jersey. 3 bullets, professional job. The boss calls you. He thanks you for the information. He tells you you made the right choice. You know what he's really saying. You passed the test. For now. The FBI. You're eating dinner at home. Your wife, your 2 kids, normal family dinner. The doorbell rings. You answer it. 6 FBI agents, guns drawn, search warrant. They spend 4 hours tearing apart your house. They take your computer, your phones, your records, your files, everything. They don't arrest you, they just leave. Your wife is crying, your kids are terrified, your neighbors saw everything. This is the message. The FBI knows who you are. They're building a case. They're watching everything you do. 3 of your captains are already under indictment. 2 soldiers flipped last month and are cooperating. The FBI has wiretaps on 4 of your social clubs. You've been careful. You never use phones for business, you never talk specifics, you speak in code, and you change locations constantly. But you know it doesn't matter. Eventually, they'll get you. They always do. It's just a matter of time. One of your oldest friends, a soldier who's been with you for 20 years, got arrested last week. He's facing life in prison, no possibility of parole. His lawyer reached out. He says his client wants to talk about a deal, about cooperation. You know what that means. Your friend is going to flip. He's going to testify. And he knows everything about you. You have 2 choices. Have him killed in prison before he can testify, or wait and hope the prosecutors don't offer him a good enough deal. You talk to the boss. He says to wait. He says killing a cooperating witness brings too much heat. He says to let the lawyers handle it. You wait, but you don't sleep because you know your friend is sitting in a cell right now, deciding whether to destroy you to save himself. And you do the same thing in his position.
The trap. You're sitting in your office, 3 in the morning. You can't sleep anymore. You think about where you are. Second in command of a major crime family. Millions of dollars a year. Power, respect, fear. You think about where you could be. In prison, in a grave, in witness protection. The underboss is usually first in line to become acting boss if the boss is imprisoned or dies. You're 1 step away from being the boss. 1 step away from total control. But you're also 1 step away from life in prison. 1 cooperating witness away. 1 wiretap conversation away. 1 ambitious captain away. The boss doesn't trust you. Not really. He can't. You know too much. You have too much power. You could destroy him if you wanted to. The captains don't trust you. You're not the boss. You're just the guy giving orders until the boss comes back. They respect you, but they don't fear you the way they fear him. The FBI's watching you, building a case, waiting for you to make 1 mistake, 1 slip, 1 recorded conversation about 1 murder. Your wife asks you to quit. She says you have enough money. She says the kids need a father who's not in prison or dead. She says she can't live like this anymore. You tell her you can't quit. There's no retirement plan in this life. You're in until you're arrested or killed. Those are the only 2 exits. You're the underboss, second in command, the man who runs everything for the boss. And you realize now that you're not powerful. You're just positioned. Positioned between the boss, who could kill you if he thinks you're a threat, and the FBI, who will arrest you the moment they have enough evidence. You wanted this position for 20 years. You fought for it. You proved yourself. You earned it. And now that you have it, you'd give anything to be just another soldier again. Anonymous, unimportant, untargeted. But it's too late for that. You're the underboss. And in this life, the only thing harder than getting to the top is staying there. You're sitting at the head of the table. Not because you chose the seat, because it's your seat. It's always been your seat. Your underboss is to your right, your consigliere to your left, 10 capos line both sides of the table, 20 soldiers stand along the walls. Everyone's eyes are on you. One of the capos has a problem. A union official in his territory won't cooperate. He's been talking to the feds, asking questions. The capo wants permission to handle it. You don't answer immediately. You look at your consigliere. He gives a slight shake of his head. Too much heat right now. Federal investigation already watching that union. You look back at the capo. Wait 2 months. Then we talk about it. The capo nods. He doesn't argue. He doesn't question. When you make a decision, that's the end of the discussion. Because you're not just a member of this family. You're not even just the leader. You are the family. Every order flows from you. Every dollar comes to you. Every major decision requires your approval. This is what it means to be a mafia boss. Not the Hollywood version, not the restaurant owner who shakes hands and tells stories. The real thing. Absolute power, absolute responsibility, absolute danger. You control hundreds of men, millions of dollars, entire industries, politicians, judges, unions, businesses. And every single day, someone's trying to take it from you. The feds, rival families, your own underboss maybe. Doesn't matter how strong you are. Doesn't matter how careful you are. The moment you stop watching, the moment you show weakness, you're done. This is the throne, and sitting on it means understanding one thing. You can never get comfortable. The climb. You didn't start its boss. Nobody does. You were a soldier once, maybe 20 years ago, doing the dirty work, collections, intimidation, occasionally, when necessary, something more permanent. You proved yourself, showed you were reliable, showed you could keep your mouth shut when things got hot. Your capo noticed. He gave you better assignments, more responsibility. You started earning real money. You kicked up your percentage, kept your head down, and waited. Then, your capo got arrested. Federal racketeering charges. He was going away for 20 years. The boss needed someone to take over the crew. He chose you. Now, you were a capo. You had your own soldiers, your own territory, your own operations. You ran gambling in 3 neighborhoods, loan sharking, some union stuff. The money was good, better than good. But being a capo means navigating politics. The other capos are ambitious. They all want to expand. They all want more territory, more money, more influence with the boss. You have to be tough enough that they don't try to move into your operations, but diplomatic enough that you don't start internal wars. You watch the underboss, how he handled disputes, how he kept the family running when the boss was dealing with other things. You learned that being a number 2 means everyone's target. The capos resent you because you control them. The boss depends on you, but also watches you, because history shows underbosses often try to take over. You also learned that being underboss means you're the heir. When the boss dies or goes to prison, you're next in line, unless someone decides you're not. 10 years as a capo, then the boss made you underboss. The previous one had a heart attack, 62 years old, dropped dead at a wedding, just gone. The boss needed someone he trusted, someone who understood the operations, someone the other capos would accept without starting the civil war. He chose you. As underboss, everything changed. You weren't running one crew anymore. You were overseeing all of them. Every capo reported to you. Every major decision came through you. You were the filter between the boss and the street. You handled the daily operations. You resolved disputes. You authorized hits. You met with other families when necessary. The boss made the big decisions, strategy, alliances, major moves, but you made sure everything actually happened. You did this for 8 years.
8 years of proving you weren't trying to replace the boss. 8 years of showing you could manage the family without threatening his authority. 8 years of walking a tightrope between being powerful enough to command respect and not so powerful that the boss saw you as a threat. Then the boss got indicted. RICO charges. The evidence was overwhelming. Wiretaps, informants, financial records. He was going to prison for life. Before sentencing, he called you to his house, just the two of you. He told you that when he went away, you were in charge. He'd already talked to the other capos. They all knew. No disputes, no challenges, clean transition. He went to prison. You became boss. That was 5 years ago. Now you sit at the head of the table and you understand something the soldier version of you never could have imagined. Being boss isn't power, it's pressure. Every single day, from every possible direction, and it never stops.
The daily reality. You wake up at 6. You don't set an alarm, you just wake up. You've been doing this so long, your body knows when to stop sleeping. Your wife is already up, making coffee. She doesn't ask about business. She learned decades ago not to ask questions. She knows enough to know she doesn't want to know more. Your phone rings before 7. It's one of your capos. Problem at one of the construction sites. Union reps showed up, saw that half the workers aren't union members, threatened to shut down the job. The contractor's panicking. You tell the capo to call the union president. Remind him about that favor from 6 months ago, the thing with his nephew, the gambling debts that disappeared. Tell him you need this handled quietly. The capo says he'll take care of it. You hang up. This is your life now. Problems. All day. Every day. Hundreds of people in your organization, all creating situations that need to be managed. You're not doing crimes anymore. You're managing criminals. There's a difference. At 9, you have a meeting at one of your legitimate businesses, a restaurant you own. Well, your cousin owns it on paper, but everyone knows it's yours. You meet with your accountant there, the one who handles the clean money, the legitimate investments, the tax returns. He's nervous. The IRS is auditing 3 of your businesses. Standard procedure, he says. Probably nothing, but they're looking closely at cash flows, making sure everything matches up. You tell them to cooperate fully. Give them everything they ask for. Don't make them suspicious by stalling. You've been careful about this. The money from the restaurants is clean. The construction companies are clean. Everything on paper looks legitimate. But you know the IRS isn't stupid. They're looking for patterns, inconsistencies, anything that doesn't add up. This is the game now. Not avoiding law enforcement. That's impossible when you're the boss. They know who you are. They're always watching. The game is giving them nothing they can use. Every dollar accounted for. Every business looking legitimate. Every meeting done in public where they can watch but not hear. At 11, you're at your social club. This is where you do real business, where the family meets, where you hold court. 3 of your capos are waiting. One wants to open a new gambling operation in Queens. One needs permission to straighten out a problem with a soldier who's been stealing from collections. One wants to discuss a shipment coming in next week that needs to be protected. You listen to each one. You ask questions. You consider the angles. Then you make decisions. The gambling operation. Yes, but he needs to kick up an extra 5% directly to you because it's high-risk territory. The stealing soldier. Give him one chance to pay it back, then handle it however he needs to. The shipment, you'll provide protection, but you want a bigger cut than normal because of the exposure. All 3 capos accept your decisions. They leave. More arrive. This continues until 4 in the afternoon. This is what being boss actually means. You're not a gangster anymore. You're a manager. You're a CEO of a criminal organization. You make decisions all day, you allocate resources, you assess risks, you mediate disputes, you plan strategy. But unlike a legitimate CEO, you can't delegate to HR when there's a personnel problem. You can't call legal when there's a contract dispute. You can't go to the police when someone steals from you. Every problem gets solved the same way, your decision, your authority. And if someone doesn't like it, that creates another problem that also needs to be solved your way.
The money. People think being a boss means you're rich. They're right, but not in the way they imagine. Every operation in the family kicks up to you. Every capo gives you a percentage of what his crew earns. Every soldier kicks up to his capo, who kicks up to you. Every scam, every business, every deal, you get a piece. On paper, you're a modest businessman. You own a few restaurants, some small construction companies, maybe a trucking business. Your tax returns show you make maybe $200,000 a year. Comfortable, but not extravagant. In reality, you're taking in several million a year. Cash. From gambling, loan sharking, labor racketeering, extortion, various enterprises that don't appear on any tax forms. The problem isn't making the money. The problem is what to do with it. You can't deposit $3 million in cash at a bank. That gets reported to the federal government. They'll want to know where it came from. You'll need to explain it, pay taxes on it, or go to prison. So you clean it, slowly, carefully. You run it through your legitimate businesses. A restaurant claims higher revenues than it actually made. A construction company inflates its billings. A vending machine business reports more sales than it generated. The cash goes in 30, comes out clean. But you can't clean it all. Too much and it becomes obvious. So you keep a lot in cash hidden. You have safes in your house, in your social club, in the houses of people you trust. Millions of dollars sitting in safes doing nothing because you can't risk putting it anywhere traceable. The money also creates obligations. You're rich, so everyone expects you to take care of them. A soldier gets arrested, you pay for his lawyer. A capo's mother needs an operation, you pay for it. Someone's kid wants to go to college, you help out. This isn't generosity, this is business. You take care of your people, they stay loyal. They keep their mouths shut when the feds pressure them, they don't cooperate, they don't testify. Because they know if they stay solid, you'll take care of their families while they're in prison. But it means you're constantly spending, supporting families, paying lawyers, covering bail, bribing officials. The money comes in fast, but it goes out almost as fast. And there's another problem. You can't enjoy it the way a legitimate rich person does. You can't buy a mansion in the Hamptons, can't drive a Rolls Royce, can't take lavish vacations, because that draws attention. The IRS sees you living like you make $5 million a year, but reporting $200,000 in income, they investigate. They assume the rest is criminal proceeds. They start building a case. So you live modestly. Nice house, but not too nice. Nice car, but not too nice. You dress well, but not extravagantly. You eat at good restaurants, but you don't fly to Paris for dinner. The money's there. You have access to millions of dollars, but you can't really use it without creating problems. It's almost funny. You're one of the richest criminals in the city, and you live like an upper-middle-class small business owner, because that's what the feds need to believe you are. The violence. You haven't personally killed anyone in 15 years. You're the boss now. You don't do that kind of work anymore. You order it. Other people carry it out. But the violence is always there, always hovering, always waiting. One of your soldiers has been talking to the feds. You notice because you have people in the police department who tell you things. The soldier hasn't testified yet, hasn't given up any names, but he's meeting with federal prosecutors, considering his options. You can't let that continue. If one person flips, others might follow. Fear spreads, loyalty cracks. the whole organization could unravel. You call in your underboss. You tell him what's happening. You tell him it needs to be handled. You don't say how. You don't give specifics. You just make clear that this soldier is now a problem that needs to disappear. Your underboss nods. He understands. He'll delegate to a capo. The capo will use soldiers who aren't connected to you in any obvious way. They'll make it look like a robbery or a random crime. The soldier will vanish, and you'll be 3 steps removed from what actually happened.
This is how it works when you're boss. You don't pull triggers. You don't plan the details. You identify problems and make clear they need solutions. Other people figure out the specifics. But you're responsible, legally and morally. If that soldier ends up dead, you ordered it, even if you never said the word kill, even if you never discussed methods. Your words, handle it, take care of it, solve the problem. Everyone knows what they mean. You've ordered maybe a dozen murders since becoming boss, maybe more. You don't keep count. Each one was necessary. At least that's what you tell yourself. A threat to the family, a rat, a rival, someone who couldn't be handled any other way. You don't lose sleep over it. This is the life. Everyone knows the rules. You cooperate with the feds, you die. You steal from the family, you die. You disrespect the boss, you die. Simple, clear, no ambiguity. But there's a calculation you make every time. Is this person enough of a threat to justify the risk? Because murders draw attention. Federal investigations, witness testimonies, long sentences. The FBI might not be able to prove you ordered the hit, but they'll know. They'll watch you more closely. They'll pressure your people harder. Sometimes the answer is yes. The threat is too great. The message needs to be sent. The problem has to be eliminated permanently. Sometimes the answer is no. Better to threaten, to ostracize, to cut them out of the family and let them know they're gone. Short of killing them, but making clear they're finished. You're not a psychopath who enjoys violence. You're a businessman who uses violence as a tool when necessary. There's a difference. At least that's what you tell yourself. The paranoia. You trust your underboss. You've known him for 25 years. He's proven himself. He's loyal, he's smart, he handles problems efficiently. You rely on him completely. But you also know that history is full of underbosses who killed their bosses. It's how the game works. It's how you got here in a way. The previous boss went to prison, you took over. You didn't kill him, but only because he was already gone. If your underboss decided he wanted you a position, what would stop him? Loyalty? Respect? Those things matter until they don't. Ambition overrides everything eventually. So you watch him. Not obviously. You don't question his decisions. You don't undermine his authority. But you pay attention. You notice who he's close to, which capos he talks the most, how he handles money, whether he's building his own power base or just managing the family for you. You trust him, but you also watch him, because being boss means trusting no one completely. Your consigliere is different. He's older. He doesn't want your job. He's not ambitious that way. He's content being the advisor, the voice of reason, the person who challenges your decisions when they're wrong. But even him, can you really trust him completely? He knows everything. Every operation, every secret, everybody. If he ever decided to cooperate with the feds, he could destroy you with a single conversation. You trust him. You have to. But late at night, when you can't sleep, you think about it. What if? What if he's secretly meeting with prosecutors? What if he's building a case? What if he's planning to flip? This is what paranoia feels like. Not a rational fear, rational concern, based on decades of watching people betray each other, based on knowing that loyalty lasts exactly as long as the benefits outweigh the risks. You watch everyone. Your capos, your soldiers, your driver, your accountant, anyone who knows enough to hurt you. You don't trust anyone completely except your wife, and even she doesn't know everything. The feds are watching too.
You assume everything you say is recorded. Every phone call, every conversation in your car or your home or your social club. They've got bugs, they've got wiretaps, they've got informants. So you're careful. You don't discuss business on phones. You don't talk specifics in places that might be wired. You speak in code, in implications, in suggestions that give you plausible deniability later. That thing we discussed. What thing? Handle that situation. What situation? You know what to do. About what? If they're recording you, let them. They'll hear a man running legitimate businesses and having vague conversations. Nothing concrete, nothing prosecutable. But the paranoia never stops. The watching, the calculating, the assessment, the who's solid and who's might crack. It's exhausting. It makes you suspicious of everyone. It isolates you even when you're surrounded by people. This is what being boss actually means. Not power, paranoia, constant, grinding, never-ending paranoia.
The illusion of control. You're the boss. You control everything. Everyone answers to you. Your word is law. You have absolute power within the family. Except you don't. Not really. You can't control what your soldiers do when you're not watching. You can't control whether your capos are stealing from you. You can't control who's talking to the feds. You can't control when some underboss from another family decides to start a war over territory. You give orders. You make decisions. But hundreds of people are executing those orders. And each one is a potential point of failure. Each one could make a mistake, could do something stupid, could draw attention you don't want, could create a problem that threatens the entire organization. One of your soldiers gets arrested for assault. Turns out he got drunk and attacked someone in a bar. Had nothing to do with family business, just personal stupidity. But now he's in custody. Now the feds are offering him a deal. Now you have to worry about whether he'll cooperate to save himself. You didn't order that assault. You didn't approve it. You probably didn't even know about it until after. But it's your problem now because he's in your family. He's your responsibility. You can't control the feds either. They're building cases against you constantly. They have surveillance, informants, wiretaps, financial forensics. You can be as careful as possible and they'll still find something. Some detail that doesn't add up. Some connection they can prove. Some low-level soldier who flips and starts talking. You can't control other families either. You're powerful, but so are they. You can't just take their territory. You can't just eliminate rivals. Everything has to be negotiated, approved by the commission. One wrong move and you start a war you might not win. You can't control your own organization completely either. You're the boss, but you can't watch everyone all the time. You have to delegate. You have to trust people. And every time you trust someone, you create vulnerability. The illusion of control is what keeps you going. The belief that if you're smart enough, careful enough, ruthless enough, you can stay ahead of all the threats. You can maintain power indefinitely. But you know the truth. Nobody stays boss forever. Eventually, something breaks. Someone talks, someone betrays you, some case you didn't see coming destroys you. The previous boss, the one you replaced, he thought he was untouchable too. He had power for 20 years. Then one RICO case brought everything down. He died in prison. Will you be different? Will you be the one who retires peacefully, who hands over power gracefully and lives out his days in comfort? Probably not. History isn't on your side. Almost every boss ends up dead or in prison. Those are the only two exits. But you can't think about that. You have to believe you'll be the exception. You have to maintain the illusion that you're in control, because the moment you admit you're not, the moment you accept that this ends badly, you've already lost.
The ending. 20 years. That's how long you've been in this life. Soldier, capo, underboss, boss. 20 years of managing violence and money and fear. You're 58 now. Your health isn't great. High blood pressure, heart issues. Stress does that. Your doctor tells you to relax. Take it easy. maybe retire. You almost laugh. You can't retire. Bosses don't retire. They die or they go to prison. Those are the options. Your son is in college, business degree. He's smart. He'll do something legitimate. You made sure of that. You kept him away from the family. Didn't let him see the life up close. He knows what you do. Everyone knows. But he's not part of it. He won't be. You won't let him. That's the one thing you controlled. The one choice you made for purely personal reasons. Your son will have a different life, a clean life. Your grandson will grow up not knowing his grandfather was a mob boss, just a businessman who died quietly. Your phone rings. It's your consigliere. The FBI just raided 3 of your social clubs. Agents everywhere, taking computers, documents. They're executing search warrants on 6 of your capos. Arrests are happening now. This is it. The case you knew was coming. The one they've been building for years. You hang up. You call your lawyer. Start making arrangements. You're not running. There's nowhere to run. You're not hiding. There's nowhere to hide. You're the boss. When they come for you, you're ready. But you know what this means. The wiretaps, the surveillance, the informants. Someone talked. Maybe multiple people. The case they're bringing won't be about one crime. It'll be about the entire organization. RICO charges, conspiracy, racketeering. You'll fight it. You have the best lawyers. You'll make them prove every charge. But you already know how this ends. You've seen it too many times. The feds don't raid like this unless they have you cold. You think about your wife, your son, your grandchildren. They'll be fine. You've made sure they're provided for. Clean money, legitimate businesses that aren't in your name. They won't lose everything. But you will. The life you built, the power you accumulated, the empire you controlled, all of it ends now. Not because you weren't smart enough, not because you weren't careful enough, but because this is how it always ends. You're sitting at your kitchen table when the doorbell rings, 6:30 in the morning. You answer it. FBI, 12 agents, tactical gear. They have a warrant. You're under arrest. They read you your rights. They put you in handcuffs. They walk you out of your house in front of your neighbors, in front of cameras. The media has already been tipped off. This is part of the show. Let everyone see the big mob boss getting park walked in handcuffs. You don't resist. You don't say anything. You just walk. In the car, on the way to federal detention, you think about the throne, the seat at the head of the table, the position you fought for, the power you maintained for 5 years. Someone else will sit there now. Your underboss, probably. Or one of the capos if they think the underboss is compromised. The family will continue. It always continues. People think catching the boss destroys the organization. It doesn't. Someone else just takes over. The structure remains. The operations continue. You were never replaceable. You just thought you were. This is what being a mafia boss means. Not the power, not the money, not the respect. The inevitable ending. The moment when everything you built collapses and you're left with nothing but a prison cell and the knowledge that you saw it coming all along. You're the boss until you're not.